and welcome. I'm Laura Live Namasturm Yoga. This is another in the series of Yoga for Absolute Beginners. Today I'm going to introduce you to inversions. Today's practice is called I is for inversions. Inversions are a whole category of poses in yoga. It's not essential that we do inversions with every practice, but I do think it is good to at least be familiar with what they are and then maybe get started trying some that feel right to you. I think they can be fun and exciting and they can help you to see your potential. The other thing that going upside down does is it may literally shift your perspective. So why not give it a try? Well, there actually are a couple of reasons. So if you feel like it's unsafe for you to do any inversions, just skip it. It might be that the first time you try a new inversion, someone should be there to spot you. I can't be there to spot you today. I'm so sorry. I can show you what the inversions are and how to practice them safely, but if for any reason you feel unsafe, please don't try to go upside down in a way that is going to put you at risk. All right. So let's get started here on the mat. We're just going to sit for a moment and we will do a short warm-up before we get into our inversion practice, just so that we're not coming at it cold. So take a moment here with your hands on your knees. Just take a good couple of deep breaths. And prepare yourself to get into this. Let's come to hands and knees. So in tabletop pose, we know we can do some cat-cow stretches. Spread your fingers, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Inhale to cow pose. Try to follow your breath a little bit here. Exhale to cat pose, arch the spine. Inhale, cow, sway back. Exhale, cat pose. This is the arched spine. Back and forth. This should feel good. It just warms up the back, but also starts to connect the breath in the body and just gives us a little bit of movement. You should feel this in your shoulders, in your spine, maybe even a little bit in your hips. Okay, and then from here, let's just walk our feet underneath us and come to a standing forward fold. Soften up the knees, just let the upper body hang. If you want to swing your torso a little bit or nod or shake your head, you can. If your hands hit the floor, grab your elbows so that they don't, and just allow the weight of the body to release down here. And then let go of your elbows if you've got them. Walk yourself to the top of your mat. And we can bring the feet together so the big toes touch. Heels are going to be slightly apart. Bend the knees a little bit. Roll on up to standing. Maybe reach the arms at the top. Exhale, swan dive forward over the legs. Bend the knees, roll on up. And exhale again, swan dive forward over the legs. When you get to the bottom, let's just step the right foot back, taking it all the way to the back of the mat. We're just going to do a simple low lunge. So take your right knee down, extend your foot behind you. Bring your torso up. See if you can sink your hips forward towards your front heel. If this is too much on your back knee, put a towel underneath it or fold the side edge of your mat and put the doubled up mat under your knee just to give it a little extra padding. Reach the arms up if you can. And if you'd like, bring your palms together. Just tilt your chin to look up towards your thumbs. Breathe. And then take your hands back down to your mat around your front foot. Step your left knee back to meet the right knee. From here, lower your chest down between your hands. Do this by bending your elbows, so don't just drop your hips. Let your elbows bend and see if you can get the chest between your hands before your hips land. We're going to take Sphinx pose here, which is kind of a modified version of like a cobra. So to get to Sphinx, we take the forearms to the floor with the elbows right under the shoulders. This is a nice, easy, small back bend. You can let your push your arms down and let your chest lift up a little bit. Maybe even almost like you're going to traction your arms against the mat, like you're going to try to pull your elbow toward your hip. Use both hands that way to move your chest up and forward a little more, a little bit of a stretch here. And then from here, walk the hands back a little bit. Let's go ahead and come right to child's pose. Keep your knees on the floor. Drop your hips to your heels. Lengthen out, forehead down, relax. And then walk the hands back. Come on up to your knees. And let's come to our feet and come back to the top of the mat again. Let's go ahead and inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, take a long forward fold. This time, take your fingers to your shins. Take a flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. So really take a couple breaths to lengthen the spine. Try to get long. Root the hands into the shins. If your hamstrings are open, you can start to slide the hands further down towards your ankles, but keep the back flat and head reaching away from the tail. Exhale, fold again, Uttanasana. Press the feet down, reverse swan dive. So instead of rolling up, we're coming up with a flat back. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, long forward fold. Fingers to shins, lift halfway. And then this time, let's bring the fingers to the floor. Step the left foot back. We're going to take a low lunge on the other side. So take your left knee down, extend your toes. Come on up. The front knee stays over the ankle, so keep your shin really vertical. Sink the hips forward toward the front heel. Again, pad your back knee if you need to, and then take the arms up. Gaze forward. If you want to deepen it a little bit, you can bring your palms together and then gaze up toward your thumbs. Breathe. And then take the hands to the floor. Step the right knee back to meet the left now. Once again, lower the chest down between the hands and do this really slow. So it's like you're going down for a push-up, but you just lower all the way to the floor. And then this time, let's take cobra. So keep the elbows snugged in by the sides of the body and just peel on up. It's a little bit more of a back bend. But if you ever want to modify and take a Sphinx pose instead, which is the one we did earlier, you can do that. From here, let's tuck the toes, lift the knees and the hips, move the heart back. Let's take a good downward facing dog here. Take a little time in down dog, bend one knee, let the opposite leg straighten, and then switch to the other side. So working out the legs a little bit here in good old down dog. And then just for fun, let's lift the heels in down dog. Keep moving your heart back. Keep your neck relaxed. Let's take the right leg up into the air. Nice, simple down dog split. Reach through the heel, but pushing the hands forward and down. And then take those toes down. We're just going to do the other leg. Getting a little stretch, letting that leg lift up. And then take those toes back to the ground. Let's move the shoulders forward over the wrists, coming to plank pose. Nice and strong through the core. If you need to wiggle the toes back a little bit to get yourself level, go for it. Head reaches away from the heels. Heels press back. Navel pulls up into the body to get that core strong. Now from here, let's take knees to the floor. And one more time, we're going to take hips to the heels and drop to child's pose. Okay. All right, so come onto your knees. To get prepared for some inversion practice, we're going to take dolphin pose, which we've done before. But dolphin is actually a really great inversion prep pose. It gets us kind of used to working deeper in the shoulders and getting the legs up, and it's a little more core work even than downward facing dog. So we're going to set up the forearms on the ground with the elbows under the shoulders. Interlace your fingers. Make sure those elbows aren't going wide because all of our base relies on some nice up and down arms and the shoulders being, really integrated into the body. So interlace your fingers, press your forearms down, tuck your toes, And lift your knees. So it feels like down dog, but it might not feel like it, but it's a similar way we go into it. The head should be able to hang freely here. It doesn't touch the ground. If your head has collapsed to the ground, see if you can work a little more with the arms. So push down a little bit more. Move your heart back, and then maybe play with, like we did in down dog split, lifting the right leg up into the air. Reach through the heel. The head again is still not on the ground. Push the forearms down, lift the heel up, and then take those toes down. And then we'll take the other leg up. So lift it into the air. And then go ahead and take that foot down. Take your knees to the floor. Okay, so the first pose I want to show you, because it comes almost right out of our dolphin practice, is headstand. You may not be ready to do a headstand, and in a moment I'm going to show you how to practice that at the wall, but I want to go ahead and just show you how to get into it from the center of the room. So I think, when I was a kid, I practiced tripod headstand where my hands were on the ground and my head was on the ground. But classic headstand in yoga is a little different than that. We actually have our forearms on the ground, just like we did in dolphin. The elbows are no wider than the shoulders and the fingers interlace. In dolphin, we definitely don't put our head on the floor, but in headstand, we definitely do. So the place that you're going to put your head on the floor, it's not going to be your forehead, because that would feel weird, and that's going to cause your neck to really bend too much. But it's also not the very top of the head where it's really flat, because that's actually going to put too much pressure straight down into your head and your neck. Where we want to put the head on the floor is kind of in between those 2 points. So for me, it's right around my hairline. I know not everyone's hairline is in the exact same spot, but that's the part of your head that's going to be actually touching the ground. The way we work this with our hands, the hands interlace. I would say if you're new to this, you can keep them a little wide and you're just going to kind of cradle the back of the head in your hands, but make sure that this edge of the hand stays down. So to try that, you're going to put the edges of the hands down. You're going to cradle your head into your hands. You're going to put that point of your head on the ground. And then just to practice, you're going to lift your knees. Head is on the ground here. You're going to try to walk your feet in a little closer. If you feel like practicing from here, but you don't want to actually go all the way upside down, what you will do is take one leg up, just like we've been doing. Keep it strong, keep both legs straight, and as you bring that leg down, go really slowly, so your core has to work. Let those toes come back to the floor, and then the other leg. So really slowly, take it up, work with control, and then slowly take it back down to the ground. And then to come out of this, you would take your knees to the floor. Now, since our head was on the ground, we want to actually take child's pose with the fists stacked and the forehead on the fists, just to kind of be a little restorative for our neck. So that's how to practice headstand in the center of the room. If you eventually feel like you can go all the way up, one leg floats and the other leg follows. We don't want to hop. With our head on the floor, the neck is vulnerable, so you don't want to try to jump yourself into a headstand. And then when you're ready to come down, keep one leg up, let one leg come down really slowly. There are other ways to go up. You can go up with both feet together, which is really challenging. Or sometimes you can go up. Some people like to bend their knees and bring them in and then straighten them. So there's some options, but that's the basic one we can work on together. And I'll show you how to practice this also at the wall. I'm going to turn my mat to the side. So to practice a headstand pose at the wall, you'll do it exactly the same way I just showed you. But this time, you're going to be turned to the wall. To practice headstand at the wall, you want to take your knuckles just a little bit away from it and set up your arms like you would for a dolphin or a headstand in the middle of the room. Interlace your fingers, elbows under shoulders, no wider than the shoulders. Nestle your head up into your hands. Tuck your toes, float your knees up. Start to walk the feet in closer
Take one leg up. See if you can get it to the wall. Maybe just practice again here if you like. Take the other leg up. If you feel like you want to move all the way up, this top heel is going to try to reach to the wall and the other leg is going to follow. If you get to the wall and you find your hips are at the wall and your feet are pulling away, move your heels to the wall and take your hips away from the wall so you can get vertical. And then from there, try to move your heels away to find your balance. Reach through the heels, press down with the forearms. To come down from headstand at the wall, take one heel to the wall for a little balance, and then try to slowly reach the other set of toes to the ground without letting that top leg come down until the last moment. Slowly, slowly. Step the feet. And then again, stack the fists. Take child's pose briefly.
If headstand is too much for you, I think everybody can practice legs up the wall. So I'm going to show you that next, especially because we're at the wall. So to move to legs up the wall pose, you need to be near a wall. If you can, bring one hip to the wall, and then this is a little bit of a maneuver, but see if you can start to roll your back to the floor as you take your legs up. And the goal is to not have much of a gap between the wall and your hips, which I actually do. So I'm going to scooch a little bit, but we don't want to have to scooch all the way up. So this is a nice pose to just rest in for 5 minutes if you'd like. Just hang out here with the legs up the wall. We can practice shoulder stand from here as well. And I will show you shoulder stand in the center of the room at the end of this practice. But if you want to give it a little try, keep your heels where they are. Start to lift the hips as you push the soles of the feet to the wall. The knees are going to bend. The hips are going to come up and the shins get parallel with the floor. The thighs get vertical. Then one at a time, pull your arms a little bit deeper underneath you, bend your elbows, and take them to support your back. And then if you want to practice lifting the legs, take one leg up at a time, but keep your thighs together. So don't let the leg come way over. We want to keep the thighs lined up. And then bend your knee, take the foot back to the floor, and try the other one. And then take that back to the wall. Slowly coming down, get the arms out of the way, roll your spine back down, and again, without moving your heels at all, let yourself come down until we're back in legs up the wall pose. Okay, when you're ready to come out, you'll just bring your knees in and roll to one side or the other to get out of that pose. There are two other inversions that I practice at the wall. Some people will practice these at the center of the room, but they require a lot more balance. So I think they're good to work with at the wall, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to work on each of them. Although if these are too much for you, just stay with legs at the wall. You can always do that and know you're still getting an inversion practice. The first one I'm going to show you is handstand. To practice kicking up to handstand, you'd want to plant your hands with the fingers spread wide, several inches away from the wall. So maybe even close to a foot away. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, move your heart back for a moment, little down dog, but then bring your shoulders forward over the wrists. Step one foot in a little, take the other leg up. The top leg should stay straight the whole time, but the bottom leg is going to kick you off the ground. And maybe just take some little hops here on one side, and then switch to the other side. Just practicing getting off the ground. And then if you want to give yourself a little momentum, try to keep your top leg straight and float yourself all the way to the wall. Come down slowly. Keep one heel at the wall, let the other one come down. To practice this without kicking all the way up, we can take box pose. Come to sit by the wall. Take your legs out long, and we're just measuring our legs here. Where your heels are, that's where you're going to want your hands. So mark it. Trust your measurement. Take your hands, the middle of your hands, to where you know your heels were because you've got that marker. Come to a very narrow down dog. Move your heart back. Root into the hands. So press forward and down. Start to walk the feet up the wall. Bring one foot to the mat or to the wall. Keep your chest moving towards your thighs. Don't let your shoulders move forward over your wrists just yet. Get a little traction. Push the hands forward and down. Walk the feet. Stop when the feet get as high as your hips. And then straighten the legs. Push your shoulders forward over the wrists. And if you want to practice taking the legs up, one up. Take it back to the wall. Try the other one. Take it back to the wall. And come down when you need to. Okay. Forearm balance. In forearm balance, we want to use the block at the wall as a bit of a spacer. So when we practice dolphin on our forearms in the center of the room, we interlace our fingers. But what we actually want to do for forearm is have our arms parallel and the whole underside of the forearm and the palm on the floor. So we're going to use the block as a spacer. So your thumbs go under and the fingers go on the outside. We're going to bring the block to the wall. You want the forearms parallel. Bring your thumbs to the base of the block and then the hands to either side of it. Palms are flat. We don't want the elbows to go wide, so the elbows and hands should be lined up. Tuck your toes. Head is not on the floor here. Walk the feet in a little. Take one leg up. Again, you can practice taking one leg up, take it down, take the other leg up, take it down. When you're ready to go up, bend your standing knee and just try to kick yourself to the wall. If the head drops down, come down. This is not a headstand. And then maybe practice taking the feet off the wall. Come down when you need to. We can practice a version of this very similar to the way we practiced box pose for handstand by coming to the wall, measuring the length of the legs again. This time where the heels are, that's where we want the forearms to be. Because we're not against the wall, we can interlace the fingers in this version. Interlace your fingers, press your forearms down, and then tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, move the heart back. This is dolphin, right? From dolphin pose, start to walk the feet up the wall. Keep the chest pressing back. We don't want the legs to go high, right? We want them only as high as the hips. And then straighten the legs so the shoulders move forward over the wrists. Remember, the head is not touching the floor. It's not touching the hands. It's not touching anything. Maybe play with taking the legs up. Don't fling them, like we don't want the leg to go behind our head. Just right up above the hip. Right up. And then come down when you're ready. And take a child's pose. So one more I'm going to show you is shoulder stand in the center of the room. Although I did show you a version that can be practiced at the wall. This is one that can also be done on your back, on the mat, in the center of the room. In some ways, shoulder stand is the easiest of inversions because it doesn't require actually balancing, but it can still be really effective. I'm going to turn my mat again. Go ahead and come to the floor to your back. If you have any issues with your neck, I would not recommend taking shoulder stand. I'll show you what you can do instead. So let's all go ahead and come down to the mat. Take your legs up into the air. So this is very similar to legs up the wall, right? We've just kind of got this L shape happening. If you have any trouble with your neck, just go ahead and stay right here. But if your neck is fine, I'm actually going to slide a little further. If your neck is fine, we're going to go ahead and work towards a shoulder stand in the center of the room. Lift your hips Now we want to kind of bring your hands next to your hips so you can press your hands down to lift your hips up and try to take the feet all the way up and overhead. If this is a no-go, maybe just stay where you were. If you get your legs up but they don't quite come to the floor, it's okay. You'll just have to balance a little bit. Now we want to sort of work the upper arms underneath our upper back. This pose is actually plow pose or halasana. And then we want to bend the elbows and bring the hands to not just the hips, so we don't want to just rest the hips in the hands, but we actually want to move them more towards the mid-back so we can get our hips over our shoulders. And then once that feels stable, the legs float straight up. Try not to turn your head from side to side in this position, but do try to get as vertical as possible. Reach through the feet, both the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. And breathe. Inversions allow for the body to change the flow of blood. So I was always told that shoulder stand can be really beneficial for all the glands in our neck because all the blood just floods to that area. When you're ready to come down, take the legs behind you and slowly get your shoulders out of the way and roll your spine back to the floor. If you can, reach with your feet, your hands for your feet, bend your knees and see if you can roll down really slow, kind of pushing the feet into the hands to slow yourself down. And then the legs are back up again. Let's take happy baby. So happy baby pose is kind of a nice one after shoulder stand because it can release the low back. So to take a happy baby pose, we're going to bend the knees and take them wide so that they drop by the sides of the chest. See if you can take your hands to the outer feet. So you're grabbing like the pinky toe side of your foot. If you can't reach your feet, you can take them to your inner thighs and just press from here. But if you've got your feet, push down with the hands and then kind of push up into your hands with your feet. Maybe a little rock from side to side. Release your low back here. And then let's just bring the knees in. We're going to take a little twist on our back. So take your arms out, like maybe a little goalpost. Let's drop the knees to the left, turn the head back to the right. Releasing the spine. And then coming back through center, drop, have the knees move through center, and then over to the right. Turn your head back to the left. And then come on up, and let's go ahead and rock up. And come back to a seat. Okay. So this was really just an introduction to inversions. We have 4 major inversions in yoga. We have headstand, handstand, forearm balance, and shoulder stand. So I showed them all to you, but they may not all be appropriate to you. Safety first should really be a consideration. So if you don't feel safe doing inversions, stick with something simple like legs up the wall. Maybe try your inversions for the first time with someone there to spot you. Unfortunately, I can't be there with you today, so the best I can do is show you what they are and try to explain to you how to do them safely. Let's bring palms together in front of the heart. Close the eyes. Tune into your breath. And as always, we'll finish the practice with a simple bow forward. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you wherever you are. Thanks so much for joining me again and sharing in a practice. Namaste. Please feel free to share, like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit your notification bell so you know when new videos are coming out. See you next time.